Hey, welcome back to Your Money in Real Estate. I'm talking with Kevin Mitchell, and he's got several books, several websites, but one of them in particular, before the break, we were talking about a thing called the bank conspiracy, and we were saying, boy, that's a pretty controversial subject. So why don't you ruffle some feathers a bit, as we said, and tell us a bit what the bank conspiracy is all about.
Sure, and I love to ruffle.
And you're a history teacher, so you probably can back it up with a little bit of history and how the banks, there's a conspiracy.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the whole point, is to ruffle some feathers, get people talking,
Sure.
Because there's just not enough of it. And being a school teacher, like you talked about, in the education system, from the time we start school, our parents, teachers, grandparents, everybody teaches you how to work hard for your money. But there's not a one course in high school about financial education, balancing a budget, how to make your money work hard for you. So this is kind of to get Canadians talking, thinking, understanding how money works and how important it is. And the bank conspiracy talks about how the banks, year after year, are over the last decade, are continuing to announce record profits. Well, us Canadians are sitting here with our mutual funds holding the bag, making 2%, 3%, 4%.
Right.
There's a RBC study, and that's in the book. We use a bank study, in the bank conspiracy to kind of hammer home our point. But RBC found in their study nationwide that if you made 3% or more in your investment portfolio, you're considered an above-average investor.
Wow.
Wow is right.
Wow.
We're sitting there looking at our real estate investments making 15+% returns. You compute that over 25 years, you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars difference and just making your money work hard for you. So I believe it's 25 pages, and it just outlines all the ways in which the banks are putting the screws to us Canadians, and kind of alludes to how real estate can offer you true diversification, get your money out of the market, make it a double-digit return, so us Canadians can set ourselves up to enjoy the type of retirement that we truly deserve.
I mean, I can relate to what you're saying, and I agree with the bank's returns, but I got to make banks my friends because I got to borrow from them to buy real estate. so I'm just trying to see. Like I guess there's a bit of a dichotomy here, where on one hand, the banks have an agenda to make money and and to pay is whatever they pay, but we also have to tap into that. We also have to use them to gain. I guess the old word is OPM, other people's money, and sometimes the bank can do that.
Yeah, and I guess that's a good point. It has nothing to do with them, giving us money for our properties. And I hope they don't see Scotiabank's watch right now. So that's it. Kevin Mitchell and direct real estate investors get no more money. But it's more about investing with the banks, specifically mutual funds. MER fees. Are you familiar with MER fees?
Yeah.
There's a lot of Canadians you talk to that have no idea. But MER fees alone, and that's, again, we have it in the bank conspiracy. Over a 25-year period, will take away half of your earnings. If you make 7%, it takes away exactly over half of your earnings over a 25-year period. So, when the banks are taking that much from us, how are we supposed to retire the way we want to?
And I know that, I'm involved a lot with real estate, RSPs, and using RSPs as an investment tool. And a lot of people, it's very convenient. You put your RSP with the bank, and you get your 2 or 3%. And that's as far as you're going to get. But there's security. They're big, and in terms of the world crisis, our banks are rock solid. So I'm trying to sort of say, okay, so besides the bank, you're pointing out points that are, a conspiracy. I just say that's a strong word. Is it? Do you really think that they're out there to get you, or? Well,
the banks. I look at the banks as any other business. They're just cutthroat. And they have CEOs, they have people responsible to make as much money as possible, and that's what they do. These personal banking officers, these financial planners, and I guess right there too, it's not just the banks, the entire financial industry.
Okay.
We as Canadians have to realize, and I don't say it with any malice, I don't say it begrudgingly.
Yep.
They're just trying to make as much money as they possibly can.
Fair enough. Yeah,
but these personal banking officers, these financial planners, they're employees of these companies, and the whole thing's structured to make them money. So it's not bad. It's just we as Canadians have to realize that and do our own research, get financially educated, so we can make the best decisions for ourselves, because they're making the best decisions for them.
And I guess the way the Canadian banking structure is, there's good and bad. I mean, our Canadian banks were very limited. Our bank charter limits us to they call the big five, or it used to be the big three. Whereas in the States, there's hundreds of banks, but there's strength in the fact that we have so few, and yet they're so strong because they deal with all of Canada. What I wanted to get at was that we as Canadians, I know growing up, you only dealt with 3 banks, and so there's almost a mentality that the banks they're almost not a business. They're almost like a government institution, so that there's this real sense of security. And I guess, are you trying to say, Kevin, that they're a business? Let's deal with that first. And so there's this almost complacency towards like I know my father's retired, and to get him to take his money out of the bank and invest it somewhere else, I just can't. Just forget it. It can't be done.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The banks, once again, as a business, spend billions of dollars. Again, Scotiabank's got those nice commercials. Come in and we'll give you a free analysis. Answer these 4 questions. We'll tell you, what kind of investor you are. But ultimately, as long as you're, playing their game, you're playing by their rules, you're very limited. So it's good in a way, like you said, as far as the strength, because Canada's made it through this economic, global recession, if you will, because of the strength of our banking industry. So I'm very thankful for that. But at the same time, us Canadians have to realize that we have to look out for ourselves and our own retirement. And we both know that's what the show is all about. It's about getting your money invested in a real physical asset that's going to be, and again, as a history major, you look back over the last 500 years, people that own properties for the last 500 years have really had the wealth and been able to really enjoy the type of life that we all deserve. Yeah, so you're obviously throughout history, real estate has been a major component of all the wealthiest people in the world. Exactly. Which is the foundation. Yep, and that's, it's one thing to say, okay, real estate's great, but like anything else, if you don't know what you're doing, it's very risky. And that's part of, that's why we wrote the ebook, but also developed, as comprehensive of a membership and course as possible. And there's a lot out there, but the key is, if you want to do it yourself, make sure you get the education to do it. And you alluded to different investment options for RSPs, and that's one thing we advocate as well, and is getting your money. There's real estate investment trusts, there's RSP second mortgages. Again, it's about getting educated, figuring out what's best for you personally, and making choices that's going to be best for you, not just being complacent and drinking the Kool-Aid, if you will. Yeah. So in the bank conspiracy, do you identify any techniques on how to, I don't want to, I guess, use the word, but use banks without getting charged the fees? Like, are there techniques and strategies? We talked about you have these different techniques and are there techniques and strategies in this book that would help someone? Yeah, there is, and from a fee perspective, like there's PC Financial where you can have a low fee account, right? And that's what we talk about in the book too. It's a solution, but if you're going to save yourself $100, $150 a year, that's nice, but that's not going to get you the retirement that you deserve. So if you're going to keep your money in the market, we talk about going through a mortgage or not a mortgage broker, but a financial planner that doesn't have any affiliation with a financial company. One that doesn't work on it, because almost all of them out there get paid commissions on the money that you invest. Not the money you make, the money you invest. So in 2008, when everybody was losing their shirts, that these people are still making their commissions on the money that was invested with them. Right. So there are financial planners out there that work on a fee basis for the work that they do for you, not for the amount of money they bring in for their company. So we kind of talk about that a little bit in the ebook, and also allude to the fact that, getting your money outside of the market. We enjoy real estate, and that's what I feel is the best. But, even to get your money outside of, pull it out of the market and start your own business or invest in something else, I guess the ebook is more about understanding that the banks aren't your friends, and that to really achieve safety and security for your investment portfolio moving forward, do the research, put in the hours right now. It's not fun. A lot of people would just much rather keep on putting their monthly amount in their RSP mutual funds, get their bank statement, not even look at it, throw it in the recycling bin, and just hope for the best. But I guess that's what it talks about. That, in my opinion, that's really risky. So what we're trying to do is say, hey, get educated. Whatever floats your boat. If you've always wanted to start a business, or if you want to invest, whatever the case may be, get educated and then make decisions, educated decisions for your money. Now, a lot of our viewers and a lot of people in general say, I'm dying to invest in real estate, but all I got is $20,000. So
or an amount that is not quite enough for the down payment, and they had to either go to a bank or work with a bank. Does your strategies, discuss how to, again, maximize a bank without getting sucked by fees, I guess?
Yeah, and we have a lot of different strategies, and this is getting away from the ebook a little bit more into our real estate investing side of things. But especially with Erik and I alluded to the very middle class background, we had to find a way to maximize, minimize the money we put into each property so we can get as much as possible, and then maximize the money we made within that.
That's right.
And we talked a little bit. One of our favorite strategies is a mortgage plus repairs. So it's not familiar to a lot of people, and this is interesting, but it's in a situation where when you buy a property, the bank will allow you to do 10% of that property's value in repairs, and then they will pay every single cent of those repairs back to you once they're done. So if you buy yourself a $300,000 duplex or $300,000 triplex, you can do $30,000 worth of repairs. And once they're all done, and again, you have to talk to your mortgage broker about it, but he sets you up with a mortgage plus repairs situation.
Wow.
And the bank comes in and says, okay, and there's more to it than that, and obviously we go into great detail to explain it within the course, but you do the renovations, the bank comes in and says, if you did the kitchen cabinetry like you said, you did the bathroom here, you painted the whole place, there's the $30,000, and then you're...
But we all know banks are smart. They're not going to give you a check without having it secured by something. Does it go on title as mortgage? Does it increase your mortgage, or is it?
Yep, it increase your mortgage.
Okay.
So your mortgage amount.
It's like a credit line for the property.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So and I got a property here I was going to talk about today.
Sure.
And it was a duplex that we bought in Cambridge a few years back, and what it does we ended up buying it for $184,000. Did $18,000 worth of repairs to it, which fits under the situation, and. Even to digress a little bit about the property, and that's one thing I want to talk about today too, is the fact that a lot of people talk to us about, okay, yeah, sure, real estate's great, but all these people are talking about buying properties is going to make them 6% cash on cash return.
Right.
I've had people say, Kevin, I've looked at 40 properties, and I've ran the numbers, and I can't find one that cash flows.
That's right. Yep.
So again, with 25,000 hours invested, we have specific investment strategies, and this duplex is a great example, so I'll kind of walk through it if you don't mind.
Well, no, we're going to get into that when we get to the favorite part of the show, which is getting into some numbers. But I guess I want to talk about, from your story in relation to the banks, meaning that you had to use the banks for money, and then most people I know, after 4 or 5 deals with the banks, again, it's a bit of a conspiracy, meaning, and I jokingly say, well, the banks like that you make money, but not that much money. They don't want you to make as much money as them, so they're going to limit your ability to get a mortgage with them, and that's when you have to get extremely resourceful and start going to private lenders, mortgage brokers, and we certainly talk a lot about that on that show. Did you guys experience that?
Yes, we did. Yeah, and we did, and that's what we talked about. The joint ventures, we went out, and that's. The thing is, when somebody wants to go out and buy 5, 6, 7 properties, accumulate that many doors, you're talking about a very small percentage of Canadians.
Yep.
And the more you acquire, especially the percentage of people that actually go over top that 4 or 5 property threshold is very few. So within the ebook, our webinars, our course is focused more on the investor that's just, looking to buy 2, 3, 4 properties and stay within the threshold.
Yeah, so it's more like an added thing for their retirement, and they've read some books. They heard, even if we had 1 or 2 more houses by the time we retire, this is going to be a great help. But we're going to get into some of those numbers, which I'm dying to, and we're going to take a quick break on Your Money and Real Estate with Kevin Mitchell. Back soon.